Food for graves. Fog swallowed the village of San Gabriel the way grief swallows a name, quietly, completely, without asking permission. It crept through crooked stone houses and clung to the alleyways like cold breath on glass. Even at midday the sun looked weak, a pale coin stuck behind a veil. In this town people didn't just watch you, they measured you, judged you, decided what you deserved before you ever spoke. Sophia felt those stares like stones in her pockets as she walked, one hand bracing her swollen belly, the other pulling her thin shawl tighter against the damp wind. She was 19, but hunger had carved years into her face. Her brown hair was gathered in a messy knot that never stayed, and her green eyes, once bright, were dimmed by exhaustion and nights spent bargaining with the cold. The baby inside her was the only warmth she couldn't lose. She passed the church and heard the old bell groan through the mist, as if even metal was tired of warning people. Near the center of town, the smell of fresh bread drifted from the tavern kitchen. It hit her so hard she stopped walking. Her stomach clenched not just with craving but fear. Fear of what starvation could do to a body that was carrying another body. Fear of what it meant that she could no longer ignore. Inside the tavern, laughter burst like sparks. Outside, Sophia stood invisible at the edge of the world. "Move along," a man muttered as he brushed past her, holding his coat away as if she carried disease. A woman with a basket looked at Sophia's belly, then at Sophia's face and clicked her tongue. "Shameless," she whispered, loud enough for the fog to carry. Sophia kept walking, each step a quiet humiliation. Her baby shifted, a small flutter like a question. "Are we safe?" She answered with the only promise she had left. "We will be," she breathed. "Even if I have to scrape survival out of stone." That was the moment she heard it again. Those whispers from the women at the fountain, gossip spoken like prayer. The old cemetery at the edge of the Blackwood forest needed a cleaner. The graves were buried under moss, leaves, and time. The owner of the land, someone nobody had seen in years, was offering food and coins to whoever was desperate enough to accept. "It's cursed," the women said. "Haunted," said another. "Wolves," someone added, eyes widening. "Real ones. Big as men." But Sophia didn't have the luxury of fear. Hunger was a curse too, and it didn't wait until nightfall. So she went home, if you could call it that. A small abandoned shed behind a closed shop, a place where the roof leaked and the floor smelled of old damp wood. She found a dented bucket, a ragged cloth, and a broom she'd made from bound branches. Her hands shook as she tied the cloth around her wrist like armor. She didn't cry. Crying took water, and water was precious. When she stepped onto the dirt road leading out of town, the fog thickened as if the village itself wanted to hide what it was sending away. The forest began like a warning, twisted branches reaching over the road, black trunks clustered close like a crowd listening. The air grew colder with every step. Mud clung to Sophia's worn boots, and she had to pause twice to catch her breath, one palm pressed to her belly, feeling the baby's weight like a sacred burden. Then she saw the gate. Iron, black, and half open, like the cemetery was inviting the living to enter the territory of the dead. Rust crawled along the bars like dried blood. The hinges groaned when she pushed, the sound echoing too long in the silence. Inside, the cemetery rose on a gentle hill. Graves leaned at tired angles, worn smooth by rain. Some were small and plain. Others were grand, cracked mausoleums with names barely readable. Ivy strangled the stones, and the ground was littered with damp leaves. But what caught her breath wasn't the graves. It was the mausoleum at the center. Bigger than the others, built of gray stone that looked almost black in the fog. Wolves were carved into its face, mid-leap, teeth bared, eyes hollow. The artistry was too perfect to be made by ordinary hands. There was a symbol above the door, an ancient crest, a crown-shaped mark surrounded by thorn-like lines. Sophia didn't recognize it, but her skin tightened as if her body remembered something her mind didn't. She swallowed hard. "Just clean," she told herself. "Just earn the food." She started with the small graves along the outer path, crouching to pull weeds from the damp soil. The smell of earth and rot rose up. She gagged once, pressing her hand to her mouth, then forced herself to breathe through it. The baby needed her steady. As she wiped moss from a headstone, her fingers caught on a sharp edge and tore. A thin line of blood appeared. The fog moved. Not like wind. Like something making room. Sophia froze, listening. Somewhere deeper in the trees, a low sound rolled through the forest, half growl, half breath. She straightened slowly, broom in her hand like a weapon she didn't believe in. "Hello." Her voice came out rough, swallowed by mist. "Is anyone there?" No answer. Only the sound of leaves shifting, and the faintest sensation of being watched. Sophia forced herself back to work. She cleaned another stone, then another, whispering numbers in her head to keep from panicking. Coins. Bread. Soup. Enough to last a few days. Enough to stop the dizziness that had started stealing her balance. She moved toward a row of older graves near the forest edge. These were different, etched with symbols instead of words. Strange runes like claws and moons. The stones looked older than the village itself. One grave was larger, its name nearly erased by time. Sophia leaned in to scrub away moss and made out a few letters. G-L. The air changed. It became heavier, like the fog had turned into water and she was standing underwater. Sophia's breath caught. She lifted her eyes. Between two black trees, a silhouette stood, tall and still, impossible in its quiet. Not a villager. Not a traveler. The figure didn't move like a person who had walked here. It looked like it had always been there. Then, something flashed. Gold, bright as coins in firelight. Sophia's knees almost gave out. Her heart hammered so hard she felt it in her throat. She clutched the broom tighter, her cut hand stinging. She should run. But her feet didn't move. Because the eyes weren't just watching her. They were measuring her, like the whole world had measured her. And yet, it wasn't the same. The gaze didn't carry disgust. It carried attention. As if she mattered. The figure stepped forward, and the fog peeled back around him like a curtain being drawn for a king. He was tall, taller than any man in the village. Broad-shouldered beneath a long black coat that looked too clean, too expensive for this place. His hair was dark, falling back from a sharp, sculpted face. His skin was pale, not sickly but unnaturally flawless, like marble that had never known sunlight. His eyes were the same gold she'd seen, but now she realized they weren't human gold. They were ancient. And hungry. Sophia's breath trembled. I'm here to clean, she said quickly as if words could protect her. I was told, food. Coins. I'm not stealing. I'm working. The man didn't answer. He simply stared at her belly. Sophia instinctively turned her body slightly, shielding it with her arm. Something flickered across his face, so quick she almost missed it. Not softness. Not kindness. Something older and colder. Recognition. Like he was seeing more than an unborn child. Like he was seeing a thread of fate. Sophia's courage, small, stubborn, rose like a candle flame. If you're the owner, she said, voice shaking but steady enough, I'll finish the job. I'll clean every grave if I have to. I just need the food. The fog thickened again and for a second she thought he had vanished. But he was still there, closer now. Too close. Sophia backed away a step, her boots slipping in mud. The man's head tilted slightly as if listening, not to her words, but to the sound of her blood moving under her skin. His gaze dropped to her cut hand. Her blood. The air turned icy. Sophia's stomach dropped. Fear finally found its voice in her body, sending cold down her spine. She remembered the stories. Creatures of the night. Kings who fed on the living. Royal monsters who didn't care about poor girls with empty bellies. She held up her bleeding hand like a warning. Stay back. He stopped. And when he spoke, his voice was low and smooth, like velvet dragged over a blade. You should not be here. The words weren't shouted. They didn't need to be. They landed with the weight of a command. Sophia swallowed. Then why offer food? His eyes narrowed. I did not offer anything. Not to you. Sophia's confusion stabbed through her fear. But, people said. People speak, he said calmly, like he'd heard centuries of lies. They create stories to entertain their fear. Sophia's jaw tightened. Then I came for nothing. Her baby moved again, more strongly this time as if reacting to the tension in the air. The vampire king's gaze snapped to her belly. His expression tightened, the smallest crack in his cold mask. Sophia noticed it and didn't understand it. But she felt it, something unseen pulling the air toward him, like the entire cemetery obeyed his presence. Even the fog seemed to lean in, waiting. You are trembling, he observed. I'm pregnant, Sophia shot back before she could stop herself. I'm hungry. I'm alone. I'm standing in a cemetery talking to a stranger with eyes like fire. Of course I'm trembling. Silence. Then, unbelievably, the man's mouth twitched, almost a smile but not quite. More like surprise. Bold, he said. Sophia's cheeks burned. Bold wasn't what the village called her. The village called her dirty. Broken. Shameful. Unwanted. She lifted her chin. If you're going to send me away, do it quickly. The vampire king stared at her for a long moment. The fog curled around his boots like loyal smoke. Behind him, the mausoleum with wolves carved into stone looked like a throne room for the dead. At last he spoke again, quietly, dangerously. That child does not belong to the man who abandoned you. Sophia's heart stopped. She couldn't breathe. What did you say? His eyes glinted. You do not know what you carry. Sophia's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the broom. You don't know anything about me. I know the scent of bloodlines, he said, voice colder now. I know the difference between ordinary life and, he paused as if choosing a word that wouldn't reveal too much. Inheritance. Sophia backed away again, panic rising. I'm leaving. She turned, stumbling toward the path, but the fog shifted, thickening in front of her, obscuring the gate like the cemetery was closing its mouth. Sophia stopped, breathing hard. She could barely see 10 steps ahead. Behind her, the Vampire King's voice came like a shadow touching her ear. You may leave, he said. But the forest will not let you pass while you are bleeding. Sophia looked down at her cut hand. A drop of blood fell into the soil. And somewhere beyond the trees, a deep howl answered, low, intelligent, and close enough to make her skin crawl. Sophia's eyes widened. Wolves? The Vampire King didn't deny it. He simply stepped beside her, and for the first time Sophia understood what true power looked like. Not loud. Not flashy. Just absolute, like gravity, like nightfall, like death itself deciding to stand between you and danger. His gaze stayed on the fog ahead. If you insist on surviving, he said softly, you will do exactly as I say. Sophia's throat tightened. Why would you help me? For a moment, the Vampire King's face was unreadable. Then his eyes flicked once more to her belly, and his voice lowered into something almost like a confession. Because this cemetery is mine, he said. These graves are mine. This land is mine. Pause. And now, he added, you have stepped into my domain carrying something that should not exist. Sophia's breath caught. The fog thickened. The forest howled again. And the Vampire King, cold and feared, extended his hand, not gently, not warmly, but like an order dressed as an offer. Come, he said. Before the night realizes you are here. The King of Shadows watches. The forest did not sleep when the sun fell. It waited. Sophia had never understood that before tonight. The fog thickened into something alive, something that curled around tree trunks and slid across the ground like pale smoke searching for warmth. The path behind her, the path back to the village, had disappeared completely. Only darkness and whispering branches remained. And beside her stood the man who was not a man. The owner of the cemetery. The ruler of something older than the village. The Vampire King. Sophia stared at his outstretched hand but didn't take it. Not yet. Her chest rose and fell too fast. Her thoughts fought each other. Run. Stay. Trust. Fear. Survive. I won't hurt you, he said at last, his voice low, controlled, but edged with something unfamiliar, impatience, or maybe urgency. That's exactly what something dangerous would say, Sophia answered, though her voice trembled. For a moment, silence settled between them, broken only by distant howls rolling through the forest like thunder across mountains. The king slowly lowered his hand, but he did not step away. You think I need deception to harm you? He asked quietly. The question wasn't cruel. It was factual. Sophia swallowed. He was right. If he wanted her dead, she would already be dead. Another howl sounded, closer now. The baby inside her shifted hard enough to make her gasp. The Vampire King's eyes snapped toward her stomach again. That strange flicker returned, recognition, and something darker. Possession. Not of her. Of fate. Stay behind me, he said. Not asked. Not suggested. Ordered. Before Sophia could argue, the fog ahead rippled violently, and shapes moved between the trees. Large. Fast. Silent in a way normal animals were not. Her breath caught. Those aren't normal wolves. No, he said. They are not. The first one stepped into view. Its fur was midnight black, its body massive, larger than any wolf she'd ever seen. Its eyes glowed faintly silver, intelligent and cold. Another shape moved behind it. Then another. They weren't attacking. They were circling. Watching. Testing. Sophia's knees weakened. Why are they looking at me like that? The king didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened. They smell blood, he said finally. And something else. Something else. The words sat heavy in the air. The lead wolf stepped closer, head lowering, muscles coiled. The Vampire King moved slightly, just one step forward. That was all it took. The air changed. Not wind. Not sound. Power. Invisible pressure rolled outward from him like a silent explosion. The wolves froze instantly. Their ears flattened. The lead wolf let out a low, uncertain whine. Sophia felt it too, that force. It pressed against her skin, not painful but overwhelming. Like standing too close to a thunderstorm. His voice when he spoke was no longer soft. It was ancient. Leave. The single word carried weight. Authority. Centuries. The wolves backed away. Not running. Not panicked. But submissive. They retreated into the fog like shadows returning to night. Sophia stared at him, her fear mixing with something else now. You didn't even touch them, she whispered. They are not my enemies, he said simply. But they know who rules this land. The statement wasn't pride. It was fact. Sophia wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. If they obey you, why warn me about them? Because hunger can overcome loyalty, he replied. The honesty in that answer unsettled her more than lies would have. The forest went quiet again, but Sophia's heart didn't slow. Come, he said again, turning toward the massive wolf-carved mausoleum at the cemetery's center. Night deepens. You will not survive it out here. Sophia hesitated only a moment this time. Then she followed. The mausoleum door opened without him touching it. Stone grinding against stone echoed like something waking up. Inside, Sophia expected decay, dust, death. Instead there was order. Ancient torches lit themselves as he entered, casting golden firelight across polished black stone floors. The air smelled faintly of cedar and something metallic she couldn't place. The ceiling arched high above, carved with symbols that glowed faintly when she looked at them too long. This is, she searched for the word. Not what I expected. No, he said. It rarely is. He gestured toward a long stone table where a covered tray rested. Eat. The word hit her harder than any command tonight. She moved slowly toward it, suspicion fighting desperation. When she lifted the cloth, steam curled into the air. Bread. Soup. Meat. Her vision blurred instantly. She grabbed the table to steady herself. Why would you feed me? You came seeking food, he said. You were not turned away. That's not an answer. It is the only one you will receive tonight. Sophia stared at him. He stared back. Unblinking. Finally hunger won. She sat and began eating slowly at first. Then faster, tears sliding silently down her face as warmth spread through her body for the first time in days. The baby kicked strongly and she let out a small laugh, broken but real. The Vampire King watched her like he was studying something fragile and dangerous at the same time. You feed the child first, he said quietly. Sophia froze. What? You eat carefully, he continued. Instinctively. As if your body understands the child must survive even if you do not. She stared at her bowl. That's what mothers do. He said nothing for a long time. Then, not all. Something in his tone made her look up. For the first time she saw emotion on his face. Not softness. Not warmth. But memory. Pain. Old enough to have turned into stone. Why are you helping me? She asked again, softer now. His gaze drifted to the far wall, where an ancient crest was carved deep into black stone. Because, he said slowly, something has changed tonight. Sophia waited. He didn't continue. Instead, he turned and walked toward a tall window cut into the stone, looking out at the fog-covered cemetery. You may stay here until morning, he said. Then you will return to the village. Sophia set down her spoon. And if I don't want to go back? Silence. Then he turned. You do, he said. Because humans need warmth. Noise. Sunlight. Other humans. And what do you need? She asked quietly. The question hung between them like a fragile thread. I need, he said finally, for destiny to remain predictable. Sophia frowned. And I'm unpredictable? His golden eyes locked onto hers. You are carrying something that should not exist, he repeated. Her heart pounded. Then tell me what it is. He stepped closer. Not threatening. Not gentle. Just inevitable. I do not yet know, he said. But I will. The baby moved again, strong, almost reactive. The Vampire King's jaw tightened. You will sleep, he said abruptly. You are exhausted. Before she could argue, he gestured toward a side chamber where a bed, simple but clean, waited. Sophia hesitated at the doorway. What is your name? For a long moment he didn't answer. Then quietly. King Kale. The name settled into the room like history being spoken aloud. Sophia nodded slowly. I'm Sophia. I know, he said. Her stomach dropped. How? But he had already turned away, back toward the window, back toward the night. Sophia lay on the bed, full, warm, terrified, and strangely safe. Outside, the wolves howled again, but distant now. As sleep pulled her under, she felt something strange inside her chest. Not love, not trust, but the first fragile thread of connection between two beings who did not belong in each other's worlds. In the main chamber, King Kale stood motionless, listening, not to the forest, but to the faint second heartbeat inside Sophia's body. And for the first time in 300 years, the vampire king felt fear. Not of enemies, not of death, but of what it might mean. If fate had just walked into his kingdom carrying his greatest weakness. The bloodline secret awakens. Morning did not arrive in the cemetery the way it did in the village. There was no golden sunrise spilling over rooftops, no rooster calls, no warm light sneaking through windows. Instead, dawn came as a slow fading of darkness, like night was reluctantly loosening its grip rather than truly leaving. Sophia woke to silence. Real silence. The kind that felt sacred. For a few seconds she forgot where she was. The bed beneath her was soft but firm, wrapped in dark linens that smelled faintly of cedar and something colder, like winter air trapped inside stone. Then memory rushed back all at once. The wolves, the fog, the eyes in the forest, and King Kale. Her hand flew to her stomach. The baby moved instantly, a strong, reassuring flutter. Relief hit her so hard she exhaled shakily. "Good morning, little one," she whispered. She sat up slowly, expecting hunger, dizziness, weakness. Instead, she felt stronger. Not strong like a warrior, but steady, grounded, like something inside her had been restored overnight. She swung her feet to the floor and stood. No spinning vision. No trembling knees. Strange. Outside the chamber, the mausoleum was quiet but not empty. The torches were dimmer now, glowing like sleepy stars. Sophia walked into the main chamber and saw him immediately. King Kale stood near the tall stone window, exactly where she'd last seen him. Perfectly still. Like he had never moved. "You did not sleep," she said softly. "I do not need to," he answered without turning. Sophia crossed her arms. "That sounds lonely." That made him turn. Not fast. Not surprised. Just interested. "You speak as if you understand loneliness." "I do," she said simply. Silence settled again, but it was different now. Less sharp. Less dangerous. Kale studied her face, then her posture, then finally her stomach. "You are stronger this morning," he said. It wasn't a question. Sophia frowned. "I just ate properly for once." "No," he said quietly. "It is more than that." The baby shifted again, harder than usual. Kale's eyes flashed gold for a split second. "Come," he said suddenly. "I will escort you to the village." The word escort surprised her. Not send. Not release. Escort. She nodded slowly. "Okay." The fog had thinned by the time they stepped outside, but the forest still felt like it was watching them leave. Birds stayed silent. Even the wind seemed to move around Kale instead of touching him. Sophia walked beside him, clutching her shawl. She noticed something strange as they passed the graves. The symbols on the older stones, the claw and moon runes, glowed faintly when she walked near them. She stopped. "Did you see that?" Kale followed her gaze. The glow faded. "I saw nothing," he said, but his tone said he didn't believe that. They continued walking. Halfway to the gate, Sophia felt a sudden sharp warmth pulse through her stomach. She gasped and grabbed Kale's arm. It happened fast. Too fast to think about. But the second her skin touched his, power surged. Not from him. From her. A soft golden shimmer flickered across her palm and vanished. Both of them froze. Slowly, Kale looked down at where she was touching him. His expression didn't change. But the air did. "What was that?" Sophia whispered. Kale's voice was dangerously calm. "That," he said, "is why you are no longer safe anywhere." Fear slammed into her chest. "I don't understand." "No," he said. "But others will." He gently removed her hand from his arm, not roughly but carefully, like her skin might burn him if he moved wrong. "We must move faster," he said. The village appeared through the thinning mist. Normal life sounds returned, voices, carts, metal tools clanking, distant laughter. But the moment Sophia stepped onto the main road, everything stopped. People stared. Some shocked she was alive. Some angry she had returned. Some disgusted she still existed. Whispers began instantly. She went to the cemetery. She should be dead. Look at her, still shameless. Sophia lowered her eyes and kept walking. But Cale didn't. He walked beside her, tall, silent, terrifyingly calm. The first man to step into their path didn't even look at Cale. He looked only at Sophia. "You think you can come back like nothing happened?" the man sneered. "After disgracing your family?" Sophia froze. Old fear rose instantly, automatic, suffocating. The man stepped closer. "Women like you should." He stopped speaking. Because Cale stepped forward. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just one step. And suddenly the air felt like winter. The man's face drained of color. "Move," Cale said. The word wasn't loud. But it carried something ancient and absolute. The man stumbled backward instantly. More villagers backed away. Not understanding why. Just knowing. Sophia stared at Cale, stunned. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," he said. "I did." She searched his face. "Why?" His eyes flicked once to her stomach. "Because you no longer belong only to yourself." The words hit her strangely, not like ownership. Like warning. They stopped near the edge of town. "This is where I leave you," Cale said. Sophia turned toward him. Panic rose unexpectedly in her chest. "You're just going back?" "Yes." "And I just live like nothing happened?" "Yes." She swallowed. "What if something did happen?" His gaze softened, barely but enough for her to see it. "Then you will come back to the cemetery," he said. Her heart raced. "And you'll help me?" A long pause. Then, "Yes." No hesitation. No conditions. Just yes. Sophia nodded slowly. Then she turned and walked back into the village. But she didn't see the way Cale watched her go. Didn't see the way his hand tightened into a fist. Didn't hear the whisper he spoke to the empty fog. "Find out who hunts her." That night, Sophia sat alone in her small shed shelter, trying to sleep. But something felt different. Warmer. Stronger. The baby moved again. Then again. Then. Light flickered faintly beneath her skin. Soft. Golden. Gone in seconds. Sophia gasped, covering her stomach. "What are you?" she whispered. Across the forest, inside the mausoleum, King Cale froze mid-step. Because he felt it too. Like a pulse through the earth itself. Ancient. Royal. Impossible. And for the first time in centuries, the vampire king realized one terrifying truth. If the child survived, it could change the balance between humans and vampires forever. The king's protection. The night Sophia saw the light beneath her skin, was the night everything changed. At first she thought it was a dream. The faint golden glow had pulsed once, then faded, leaving her staring into darkness with her hand frozen over her stomach. Her breath came in short bursts, fogging the cold air inside the shed. Outside the village slept. Somewhere far away, a dog barked once and then fell silent again. But inside her, something was awake. The baby shifted again, stronger than ever before. Not painful. Not violent. Just aware. Sophia sat up slowly, her heart racing. "It's okay," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was speaking to the child, or herself. The air inside the shed suddenly felt too warm. Too heavy. And then, the lantern hanging on the wall flickered without wind. Once. Twice. Then steadied. Sophia's stomach dropped. She wasn't alone. She turned slowly toward the doorway. A shadow moved outside. Tall. Still. Watching. Her fear spiked, but something deeper, something instinctive told her not to scream. A knock came. Soft. Controlled. She already knew who it was. Sophia opened the door. King Cale stood there, the night curling around him like a cloak. His golden eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, not threatening, just alert. Focused. "You felt it," he said. Not a question. Sophia nodded slowly. "You did too." "Yes." He stepped inside without waiting to be invited, but strangely, it didn't feel like invasion. It felt like protection. He looked around the shed once, taking in the cracked walls, the thin blanket, the broken roof corner. His jaw tightened. "You cannot stay here anymore." The words landed heavy. "I don't have anywhere else," Sophia said quietly. "You do," he said. Her breath caught. "The cemetery," she whispered. "Yes." Silence stretched between them. Sophia looked down at her stomach. "What is happening to me?" Cale stepped closer, but slowly, carefully, like approaching something sacred. "I do not know fully," he admitted. "But I know this." His voice lowered. "Others will feel it soon." Fear crawled up her spine. "Who?" "Vampires," he said. The word hit like ice water. "Not all of my kind are loyal," he continued. Some would see power in what you carry. Some would see threat. Sophia wrapped her arms around herself. And you? His eyes locked onto hers. I see responsibility. The way he said it made her chest tighten. Not desire. Not ownership. Duty. Protection. Ancient and unbreakable. They left the village before dawn. No one saw them go. The forest felt different this time, not threatening. Not watching her like prey. It parted around Kale, branches shifting, fog thinning as if something older than nature itself was guiding them through. Halfway to the cemetery, Sophia stumbled. Not from weakness. From a sudden wave of heat flooding her body. She gasped, grabbing a tree. Kale was beside her instantly. What is it? I don't know. Her skin shimmered faintly again, gold light pulsing once beneath her wrist. Kale froze. Then, slowly, he did something he hadn't done before. He touched her. Just her wrist. But the second his skin met hers, power surged between them like lightning trapped under glass. Sophia gasped. Kale's eyes flashed bright gold, almost white. Then it stopped. They both pulled back at the same time, breathing hard. What was that? She whispered. Kale looked shaken. Not scared, but unsettled. That, he said slowly, felt like recognition. Sophia frowned. From who? His gaze dropped to her stomach. From something older than me. They reached the cemetery as the sky began to pale. But this time, something was wrong. The fog wasn't still. It was disturbed. Like something had moved through it recently. Kale's entire posture changed. Predatory. Silent. Stay behind me, he said quietly. Sophia obeyed instantly. They moved through the gates slowly. Then they saw it. Footprints. Not human. Not wolf. Something in between. Fresh. Kale's jaw clenched. They found you faster than I expected. Fear slammed into Sophia's chest. Who? Hunters, he said. Rogue vampires. The word rogue made it worse. Uncontrolled. Unrolled. Dangerous. The mausoleum doors were open when they reached them. Kale stopped. His eyes burned. They entered my home, he said quietly. Not anger. Worse. Offense. Royal offense. They stepped inside. The torches flickered violently. And then, a voice echoed from the shadows. So it's true. A tall figure stepped forward, pale skin, dark eyes, smile too sharp to be human. His gaze landed on Sophia. Hunger lit his face instantly. Well, the rogue vampire said softly. That is interesting. Sophia felt Kale step in front of her fully, shielding her. The rogue laughed lightly. You never cared about humans before, Kale. What changed? Kale's voice dropped into something ancient and terrifying. Leave. The rogue tilted his head. Or what? You kill me? Over a human girl? Silence. Then Kale spoke. No, he said. Over what she carries. The rogue's smile faded. He looked at Sophia again, this time not with hunger. With calculation. Then, everything exploded into motion. The rogue lunged. Kale moved faster than Sophia's eyes could track. They collided mid-air, slamming into a stone pillar hard enough to crack it. The mausoleum shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Sophia stumbled backward, heart screaming. The rogue hissed, slashing forward. Kale caught his wrist mid-strike. Crushed it. Bones snapped. The rogue screamed. Kale's eyes burned like molten gold. You entered my domain, Kale said coldly. The rogue snarled. You can't protect her forever. Kale grabbed him by the throat. Lifted him off the ground. I do not need forever, Kale said quietly. I only need tonight. Then he threw him. The rogue slammed into the far wall and vanished into shadow, fleeing. Silence crashed down. Sophia stared, shaking. Kale turned toward her instantly. Are you hurt? She shook her head, tears in her eyes. You were going to kill him. Yes. The honesty hit harder than violence. She swallowed. For me? Kale hesitated. Then, for the child. The answer hurt. But not in the way she expected. Felt honest, safe. Because it wasn't romantic. It was absolute. Kale stepped closer, his voice softer now. No one will touch you here, he said. And if they try. His eyes darkened. They will learn why I am king. Sophia felt something shift in her chest. Fear fading. Trust forming. Slow. Fragile. Real. And for the first time, she reached out. Not from fear. Not from weakness. But choice. Her fingers brushed his sleeve. Kale went still. Neither of them moved for a long moment. Then quietly, "You are not alone anymore," he said. Outside, storm clouds rolled over the forest. Inside the mausoleum, two fates, human and immortal, stood closer than ever before. And somewhere deep in Sophia's body, the golden light pulsed again, stronger, answering something, or someone. The Queen Fate. The storm arrived before sunset. Dark clouds swallowed the sky above the cemetery, turning the world into shades of iron and shadow. Thunder rolled across the forest like ancient drums, slow and warning, as if nature itself knew something monumental was about to happen. Inside the mausoleum, Sophia sat near the stone table, her hands resting over her stomach. The golden pulses had not stopped since the rogue vampire attack. They were stronger now, more frequent, not painful but powerful, alive. King Kale stood across the chamber, completely still, but Sophia had learned by now that stillness did not mean calm. It meant control. It meant calculation. It meant he was listening to things no human could hear. Then he spoke. "They are coming." The words landed like falling stone. Sophia swallowed. "How many?" Kale's jaw tightened. "Enough." Fear rushed through her, but underneath it, something else stirred. Not bravery. Not exactly. Something deeper. Something ancient. Something that felt like memory even though she had never lived it. The baby moved again, hard, deliberate. Kale's eyes snapped to her stomach. "It knows," he said quietly. Sophia's voice shook. "Knows what?" "That it is being hunted." Silence filled the chamber, broken only by the distant growl of thunder. Sophia stood slowly. "Then tell me the truth. All of it. No more half answers." Kale didn't respond immediately. Then he stepped closer. Closer than he ever had before. His voice dropped low, almost like confession. 300 years ago, he said, "My kingdom made a pact with the ancient bloodline guardians. They were not human. Not vampire. Something older. They existed to keep balance between our worlds." Sophia listened, heart pounding. "One guardian line could merge with human blood," Kale continued. "To protect it, hide it, let it survive when enemies hunted it." Sophia's throat went dry. "And me?" Kale nodded once. "You are descended from them," he said. "But dormant." Her hands trembled. "And the baby?" Kale's golden eyes darkened. "The child is not dormant." The words echoed through the chamber like prophecy. Sophia's knees weakened. She grabbed the stone table. "What does that mean?" "It means," Kale said quietly, "your child is the first fully awakened guardian born in centuries." The world tilted. Her voice cracked. "I'm just a girl who was trying to survive." Kale stepped closer. "You still are," he said. "And that is why the power chose you." The baby kicked again, strong enough to make her gasp. Then, the golden light burst across her skin. Not faint. Not hidden. Bright. Warm. Alive. Symbols, ancient, glowing, beautiful, spread across her arms like living constellations. Sophia cried out, but not in pain. In shock. In power. Kale stared. And for the first time since she had met him, the vampire king dropped to one knee. Sophia's breath stopped. "What are you doing?" His voice was reverent. "Recognizing what stands before me." Thunder cracked overhead. And then, the mausoleum doors exploded inward. 5 rogue vampires stepped inside, eyes burning with hunger and ambition. The leader smiled slowly. "There it is," he whispered. "The guardian heir." Kale rose instantly, stepping in front of Sophia. "Leave," he said. The rogues laughed. "You would choose extinction for her?" one asked. Kale didn't hesitate. "Yes." The rogues attacked. Everything turned to chaos. Stone cracked. Torches shattered. Wind howled through the broken doorway. Kale moved like living shadow, fast, precise, deadly. One rogue flew across the chamber. Another slammed into a pillar. But there were too many. One broke past him. Straight toward Sophia. She froze, then instinct took over. The golden light exploded outward. Not violent. Not destructive. Protective. The rogue vampire hit the light like an invisible wall and screamed, thrown backward across the chamber. Silence followed. All vampires froze. Because the power radiating from Sophia now felt royal, ancient, absolute. The leader's smile faded. Impossible. Sophia stepped forward. Terrified. Shaking. But standing. "Leave," she said. And the word carried power. Not loud. Not forced. But undeniable. The rogues backed away. One by one. Then fled into the storm. Silence returned. Kale turned slowly toward her. His expression held something Sophia had never seen before. Not duty. Not responsibility. Respect. Absolute. Unquestionable. You chose protection, he said quietly. I chose survival, she answered. He stepped closer. You chose both. Thunder rolled again, but distant now. The storm was passing. Sophia swayed suddenly, exhaustion hitting like a wave. Kale caught her before she fell. For a moment they just stood there. Close. Breathing the same air. Two beings from different worlds. Bound by fate neither of them had asked for. Will they come back? She whispered. Yes, he said honestly. But they will fear you now. She nodded weakly. Good. He studied her face, really studied it. Then quietly. You can stay here, he said. Not as a guest. Not as someone under protection. Sophia looked up at him. As what? She asked. His voice softened, something rare and fragile. As someone this kingdom will answer to. Her heart skipped. And you? She asked quietly. Kale held her gaze. I will stand beside you, he said. Not as ruler. Not as owner. As equal. Sophia's eyes filled with tears she didn't understand. Not fear. Not sadness. Relief. The baby moved again, calm now. Safe. Outside, dawn finally broke through storm clouds, golden light spilling across the cemetery for the first time in centuries. And inside the mausoleum, a new future stood quietly forming. Not rushed. Not forced. But inevitable. Because sometimes power chooses the gentle. Sometimes destiny chooses the broken. And sometimes, a king learns that the strongest throne is not built on fear, but on who you choose to protect.